I'm Eric Lipsy, and this is Galt. One of the biggest things I've been wondering for myself, and I know other entrepreneurs have had this questions. There are so many different platforms out there now, and every year there seem to be one or two new platforms, and it's the oh, you got to be here, you got to go do this, and you got to do that, and how do you know which platforms are right for you? What does that process looks like, or do you just try to do them all and just shotgun it, or do you just kind of focus in?
Well, so I'm going to answer this in a couple of ways. The first thing that we always do, because if you can imagine as an agency, we're representing a lot of different verticals.
Hmm.
For some agencies, that'll be vertical specific, but for us, we've touched pretty much every landscape there is. So we have to become an expert in what channels are going to be best for them to market on. So the first process that we go through is knowing your audience, right? And so that would be either you can do what they call a customer persona or a psychographic. And what that process is you go over their personality, your ideal client's personality, their lifestyle, their core values, their opinions. And based on that data, you can say, okay, well, this is my ideal client. So where are my clients at?
Gotcha.
And you use that data to basically, if you don't have that information, you'll just search on Google or call someone like, me or another agency and say, okay, this is my data. Who do you think would be my best market? Or doing that research and finding where all of those people might be.
Hmm.
To answer the other side of your question, we also help to manage SEO. And so I've had a lot of people say, well, you know what, like Twitter's not for me. I don't need to be on Twitter. And yes, I completely agree. You do have to cater your content to each individual platform if you're working it at a level that you really want to see that ROI. But there is a lot of benefit to cross posting. And the reason for that is that all of the social media platforms, as you can imagine, Google looks at them and they say, hey, that's an authority that you're working with.
Hmm.
They're getting a ton of traffic. And so anytime that you align your brand with a high authority like that, you're going to see some benefits just from cross posting. You want to have those profiles at minimally. You want to have, they call it social profiles. So you want to have those social profiles filled out with your branding on it. And I would say occasionally try to do cross posting on the top channels, and then just pick a couple channels because it can be really overwhelming. Pick those top channels that align with your customer personas.
Oh, that's outstanding. Thank you very
Yeah,
much for that information. Yeah,
absolutely.
that's great because I remember working with you and hearing your presentations in the past, and I was like, you know what, I have to have Emily on because she is so knowledgeable in this area. And yes, you also do the SEO, so that's really a great combination to be able to draw. You can basically see the entire picture of how it all works together.
Well,
So.
it's funny because a lot of times I'll have clients come to me and say, hey, I need help with social media. And I look at everything. I look at, okay, where's your SEO? What's your website? What's all of those elements really work together. It's one big animal and big machine. And so actually social media has a lot to do with SEO as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good to know. Now, let's pivot just a little bit here, and I want to talk about content. As far as the content that you're putting out there, like I know you create some really remarkable content that stands out, and I know a lot of people wonder, if you're just putting things out there, are you putting the same thing out there continuously? Do people get bored? Do you need to switch it up, or does it depend on the type of business you're in?
So, okay. Social media changes a lot. Like, for instance, right now, Instagram is putting a lot of emphasis on video content. And the reason that they're doing that is the rise of TikTok. TikTok has pretty much taken over. And so they are directly competing with TikTok. Therefore, they want to see that type of content in your reels and your videos. So what I always suggest is let's work smarter. You can take images and make them moving images into a video, right? So if you already have one thing, you can repurpose it. Or like, for instance, what we're doing right now, you could take the audio clips of this and make that into a social media post that is talking about these interviews that you're doing for Galt. And so really it's about taking that content and stringing it out as long as you can into all the various channels. And like, for instance, here, okay, we could make this into a short TikTok. We could repurpose this on YouTube. We could repurpose this on all of your social media channels in a different way and use that same content so that you don't have to like constantly be in that creation mode. Because I mean, let's face it, we all have a lot going on. Oh, you could also take this, what we're talking about, and turn that into a blog as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Let's say that you were using like a service. There's different services that you can put on your video chats that will actually give you the transcription of your conversation. And so you can take that and say, okay, now I'll have to edit it a little bit because there might be an here or an and or whatever. But you can take that content and put it into a blog. So that's really just like a user case of what we could even do in this instance.
Now, by making your video into or incorporating it into your blog, does that give you any kind of precedence with Google as far as searching is concerned?
Yes, Google definitely wants to see content. They want to see that you're updating your website. And so blogs is a great way to do that. There's a science behind it, but blogs are a beautiful way. And of course, video is great too, because it really gives that connection, that personal brand side of things.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's funny, like even as Lingos, we are having to pivot even on our Instagram channel. It's like, okay, we need to switch everything over to video. We've had static graphics and they're great, but I mean, it's just making sure to, at least on the top channels that you choose, based on that customer journey, those are the ones that you just want to make sure that you're keeping on top of. So what, following maybe authorities like us, like we like to kick out information on what's happening in that world, following good authority brands that can give you that data so that you're not constantly having to like be like, oh, what's going on today in the world of social media. It's a great way to stay on top of everything.
Okay. See, in the future, we're going to have to do a deep dive into blogs and the ins and outs of that as well. Yeah. All right. Great. All right. So the next question I have for you is on how often should you be posting, and as far as the frequency, and maybe it's different on different platforms. I don't know. I've heard different things where somebody's like, hey, I'm posting every hour. I've heard people twice a day. What do you recommend this for, or is it different per industry? I don't know.
It really is different per industry. And, so one of the biggest things, let's talk about a couple of different platforms. So let's start with Facebook.
Okay.
So the biggest deal with Facebook is that you want to have shares. The likes, the comments, they're great. But when people share, that's because they want to consume your content, and then they repurpose it because it gives them a feeling of, I'm sharing this worthy information, whether that, hit on one of the 4 E's. It was entertaining, it was engaging, it was emotional. Like one of those things really hit them, and that's why they're sharing that content. So I try to tell people it's really quality over quantity. Now, if you have a massive following, let's say, and you're finding your engagements are great, yeah, a lot of times you're going to see people putting out 1, 2, 3, or 4 posts a day. But you really do have to look at the industry standards. You have to do the research on that. You have to look at your insights to see when your audience is on, because you're going to have like blanket statements that are like, hey, on this channel, you should post this time to this time. But that doesn't, okay, This one shocked me. There is a company that we were posting for, and when I looked at their insights, I'm like, they're on at like 6 or 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And, you would never think that was the case, but that is when their clients were consuming content. So you want to make sure that you're posting when your audience is on based on those insights.
Gotcha.
And I know this kind of covers a little more than what you asked, but I think it's really important is that another thing I've heard people say is, I'm not going to post anymore because I'm not getting any likes, I'm not getting any comments, I'm not getting any shares. Well, you talked about how frequently is it, do you want to post, and is it going to annoy people or, turn off your audience? Okay, well, let's think about driving down the highway. Like, how many times do you see advertisements over and over and over again? Because at least 3 touches is what it might take for somebody to actually, retain that information. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing is that you have to look at your website analytics, because so many times we will look at the insights on, Google Analytics, and we can see that people are coming from those social channels. So they might not be liking, commenting, or sharing, but they're going to your website and checking you out. Right. So you definitely don't want to show up on a page where there's nothing there, because it just makes it'll make people maybe question if you're in business.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I tell you a perfect example. I was doing inspirational, just writing things just randomly on Facebook, and my wife and I had gone out to dinner, and the guy walks over, and I had no idea who the guy was. And he was like, I love your content, blah, blah, blah. He's never liked anything and never seen it. I didn't even know we were connected on social media, but he's giving me this insight. And so it's to your point, what you're saying is that sometimes you don't even know who's engaging, or they may not like the post, they may not share it, but they're having it there. Still, people are seeing it. They may not necessarily engage with it, but other than to read it or to view it, but they're still seeing it. So that's a really great point.
And then also, if you think about in the ads world, you do a lot of A/B testing. And I think that's really applicable in every marketing area. Like, really, in social media, you should be doing A/B testing. What's actually working? Try a couple of different things. Try different, like, maybe you have one subject, but you are delivering it in a different way. Like, you have a different CTA, or maybe it's a different image that might pull, spark emotion, or, try different things, and don't be afraid if you're not getting likes or comments. Like, I don't know, to me, failing is all a part of the journey of success, because it's allowing us to further learn what our consumers want.
Right.
You have to go through that pain in order to really understand. And then, also understanding that the journey is going to change too. Just like as business owners, we change. We redefine who our ideal client is over time, because we're like, hey, yeah, that's what I started at, but now I'm here and this is what I want now. So I have to pivot that entire plan, and that's okay.
Right.
So
completely makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for that. So the thing is just finding what works for you, and when are your people engaging, or when are they out there where they're going to actually view the content? Because I guess that's another thing with social media. There's so much data going into those feeds all the time. So if you're posting at a time that's not optimal, it's likely the people you wanted to see it don't see it at all. And you might not be getting that engagement because you were posting at a time where, hey, a few hours has gone by, that content is no longer relevant as far as social media is concerned, because, so much time has lapsed. But now, do you find that in those situations where people are engaging with your content, so if you're posting at the right time, optimal times, and you're getting that engagement, are you finding that Google or Facebook or whoever sees that that content is more relevant, so they show it to more people who they feel may be interested also based on the other people's profile?
Absolutely. And, you know, on Facebook specifically, they really do mostly look for those shares, but they do consider likes and comments as well.
Yeah.
So you have a much higher likelihood of your content being shared out to a bunch of other people and beating those algorithms. The other thing that I see a lot of brands struggle with is the personal brand side of things, right? Because now, arguably, if you're a large corporation, this might be different, but we're talking like a business owner that's, you know, engaging with their clients. At the end of the day, they're doing business with you.
Right.
So being seen is really a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Putting your face out there, you know, leveraging that piece of that connection is really massive. And I see a lot of people not doing that. And I'm going to call myself out. I could even do a better job, but isn't that always the case, that you help other people, but you don't do it for yourself?
Yeah. There's like the plumber's faucet always leaks or something like that, I heard.
Yeah, right. It's so true.
Yeah, it's like we spend all our time engaging with other people. Hey, this is my job. I don't want to
Yeah.
do it when I want to relax at home. Totally get that.
Yeah.
That's really great. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
Absolutely. Yeah, my pleasure. Anytime I can help out, I absolutely love educating. So thank you for the opportunity and the platform.
Yeah, thank you. Now, before we go, I do want to provide the opportunity for you to share ways for people to get in contact with you, with Lingos Media, if they like to hire you. And I have to say, Emily is one of the best in the business. Brilliant mind. I like the way she thinks and sees things. But anyways, without me gilding the lily, you're going to tell the people how they can contact you or follow you on social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can call our office, which is 720-378-8970. And you'll have an option to either go to our IT department. We have two divisions, or our media department. You can follow us on Instagram, which is Lingos IT Media, or you can find us on Facebook under Lingos. Our main, we've got a couple of different URLs, but you can find both of our brands under our lingos.com. That'd be a great way. And of course, feel free to reach out to me personally. My name is Emily, and I'm always happy to help out.
Outstanding. Well, thank you very much again, Emily. This is Galt, Fuel Your Business, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.